Point is brought to you by Open Form Radio, Blue Man Rule, Ace Black, Debate. Let's go. It's time to commence the great debate between prosecution and defense. It's like yang and yin, but only one can win. So without further ado, yo, it's time to begin. Prove your point is brought to you by Blue Man Rule, assisted by Ace Black Man. That boy's a fool, armed with knowledge and just a microphone is my tools. And to the listeners, let me just lay down the rules. Both sides get opening, counter, and closing remarks. All the while, with a smile and a partial judge watches the sparks. But there is a time limit. Each section is 2 minutes. Time to find out who'll win it. Come on. Let's get it. Welcome back, everybody. This is Prove Your Point, episode 54, recorded on Friday, September 5th, 2014 at approximately 1:08 p.m. Central Standard Time. I am your host today, this afternoon, not this evening. I'm so used to saying this evening. I am Larry, aka Blue Man Rule, and I am joined today. We had him on before, and it's called The One with Robbiejo. And he's back again. It's none other than Robert, aka Robbiejo, from the Level Zero podcast. What's going on, player?
What's up, man? It was so long ago, I didn't even remember that I was on. You got to remind me that I was on the show previously.
Yeah, you was like, I don't think I've been on. I'm like, come on, player. Yeah.
You remember that? Yeah. Well, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, no problem, man. You know, and unlike most video games, hey, the sequel will be better than the first time, right?
For sure.
That's what's good, man. So before we get into it, man, I want you to go ahead and take a second, and you'll get a second here again at the end for shout outs. But take a second, man, tell the folks where they can find you if they want to find you.
You can find me on Twitter. That's probably the best place. It's at Robbiejo, Robbiejo. And then I also do a podcast called the Level Zero Podcast, and that's best place to find us is at LZ Podcast. So yeah, that's pretty much all of that. You know, if you want to hit me up for anything, if I say something controversial on this podcast, you say something you don't agree with, hit me up and let me know, and I'll argue with you and then cuss you out on Twitter. No, I'm joking. I won't do that. I won't do that.
He will argue with you.
I will argue with you.
He will argue though. You guys gotta understand. Like me and Robbiejo started the same podcast on the exact same day, back in 2009. So we've been doing this thing for a minute. And the one thing I know about Robbiejo is that he and I never agree. And even when we do agree, we disagree on how we agree.
We get there eventually. We
work our way toward the middle, but it's an interesting dynamic that we have. So just you'll see what I'm talking about. And check out Level Zero Podcast. Robbiejo keeps it going over there. He's been podcasting for ages. I mean, literally ages. Robbiejo, straight up, I'm gonna throw it in at the beginning of the show. I want to see you at PAX South. For real.
What is that, San Antonio?
Yeah, January 23rd through the 25th. I want to see you at PAX South.
You know what? I probably could do that. I have been thinking. I was actually hoping that PAX South would be in Atlanta because that's where I'm at.
That's what I was hoping.
I was hoping, but I mean, PAX South would be. I've been to PAX once, and that was that was PAX East. Yeah, I think it was 2010.
Yeah, because you weren't there the year I was there, which was 2011. You came the year before.
Right,
so I was like, man, I really wanted to meet him so we can meet up and argue in person.
Right. Yeah. But when I did go there, it was a blast. Like, I mean, just meeting everybody from the community. Funny enough, I'm still talking to these people. So yeah, it was a blast. So I definitely can start thinking about that for January. I didn't realize it was so quick though.
Yeah, man. And there's gonna be a whole new group of folks that I haven't met, particularly some folks from Everyday Gamers. The Merry Gamers just joined Open Form Radio, and they're gonna be there. And man, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be really fun. And so man, if you can make it. Hey, we're gonna clown, man. You saw the podcast that we did with everybody at PAX East 2011, right?
Right.
I'm looking to replicate that whole thing again, dog.
That looked like a blast.
It was great, and that was all of us in my hotel room, just like one room. So when I do it, I want to do it right. I want to go in and get us like a business room, like a little conference room or something, and maybe hit something up that's empty late, because that's how we're all available is late, and just go in, sit down with a microphone and a laptop. And just press record and go to town, man.
So
yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's the kind of the point of those conventions. It's not really to see the games or anything like that. It's just to meet folks. Like that's really what it's about.
Yeah, and PAX is really all about that community, man. Like it really is. So yeah, man, you just really can't go wrong with that, man. So like I said, I want to see you there. I don't want to hear any excuses, and yeah, because if I do hear excuses, I'm just gonna argue out on Twitter. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. I'm not even gonna give you excuses. It's your show. I'm gonna just say yes, sir. I'll be there.
All right, that'll work, man. That'll work. But you know what else is here? What else is here, man? It's college football, dog. And it's
man,
in a major way, man.
How about my dogs? My dogs are killing it. Todd Gurley for Heisman.
Dude, what was that? Like he just came out, and it wasn't like out of nowhere because last year he was a monster. I called it last year when I first saw him carry in game 1, but yeah, man, like this year, he just right off the charts just started off just ridiculously, man. He's firing on all cylinders right now.
Oh no, he's a beast, and the thing is, he just gotta stay healthy. That's always been our kind of Achilles heel with him. Is that I mean, he's so talented, but he gets hurt. I mean, he got hurt from that last year. We started with Clemson and lost a close one, and he got hurt in that game. He had like a 80-yard touchdown and like pulled a quad in on the first play of the game.
I think I remember watching that game. Yeah.
Yeah. He still got like 150 yards, but ever since then, he was just hurt the entire season. So he's healthy now. You know, the dogs look good. We have a bye week this week, and then we got South Carolina next week. So, you know, as a Georgia Bulldog fan, it's always up and down. We always are up and down. We have to start the season real on a down note, or we're up high. So, if we can get past South Carolina, I think we'll be good.
Yeah, South Carolina is South Carolina. I mean, they've been an inconsistent beast for a while. Like they've been an inconsistent SEC player for a while because even when they had Jadeveon Clowney, which I still think is one of the worst names to give your kid, Jadeveon, like for real.
What about HaHa Clinton Dix?
Boy, I saw that last night.
Played from Alabama. He's like I think he's at Green Bay now.
Yeah, he was playing last night, man.
Yeah.
I was just like, bless his heart.
His name is actually like Hashan or something like that, and HaHa is his nickname, and he just went with HaHa. But it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
All right. Then that'll pass then. But yeah, man, I'm really excited because my boys Michigan. You know, we did what we were supposed to do last week against Appalachian State, right?
Right.
We won like 52-14. It's a blowout. It is what you expect in the world of college football when you got FBS. You know, that's what you expect. But we have Notre Dame coming up this weekend, and
that's a big one.
It is, and we always play Notre Dame close, even when Notre Dame is sorry, even when their team is expected to win like 5 games. Like we still struggle with these boys, man. And so, to be honest, man, I'm not looking forward to it. I'm not looking forward to the game. I am gonna sit down and watch it.
Right.
But I'm not looking forward to it, man.
I'll say this. I think Notre Dame is overrated. Everybody's on the Notre Dame bandwagon because they whooped on Rice. Like, I don't know what the score was. It was crazy. But then, you know, I just said, hey, guys, remember, it was Rice. Rice. Let's temper expectations a little bit. So I think that's going to be a good game. That's one of the 3 games I plan to watch this weekend. The Oregon, Michigan State game, that's big time. And then USC Stanford is big time. And then the Notre Dame Michigan game. Those are the 3 games I'm going to be watching this weekend, especially with my dogs for the bye week this week. So I'm going to step out of the SEC this week for a little bit.
Oh, shit, he's stepping out of the house with them slacks and gaiters on, boy.
Well, the thing is, the SEC has terrible matchups this week. There's not one interesting matchup. They're all like, it's all like, you know, powerhouse SEC team against like North Texas State or something like that.
Right. East Dakota State.
Right. Yeah, stuff like that.
Hey, did you see that high school football game, man? Oh, no, it was a college. It was a lower college, man. Like one of these Texas schools got beat 98-20.
No, I did not see that. That's
this morning, dog. Yeah, that is not even fair. That's not even fair. That's not even fair. That's crazy.
That's probably one of those deals where they pay the school like $1 million to just come play and get their ass beat. That's really.
But they were both small unknown schools.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just wow. One was like East Baptist Texas University, and another one was something else, man. Some other Texas University, and it was ridiculous. But yeah. So Robbiejo, I brought you on because just the other day, I guess it would have been Monday, I was reading that the I was reading VG 24/7, and if you don't read VG 24/7, it's a UK-based video game site. Right. I really like them. I really like them. They tend to do good stuff. But they put out this the 50 best RPGs ever article. And for the folks who are wondering what I'm talking about, I'm about to go ahead and share my desktop with people, and I'm just going to show them what I'm talking about. So here it is right here. So as you can see, the 50 best RPGs, right? They go through these. This is ever though. Like this is everything, right? So it's like, that's a lot of stuff, right? So they have a lot of things in here, but to kick it off, they have like Secret of Mana, and then. And that's really Ultima Online, right? Fable, System Shock 2, which I guess is an RPG. I don't know. Like we'll get into my debate about what determines a classify as an RPG. But Ni no Kuni actually made it at number 43, and then I couldn't really argue with their top 10. So Skyrim was their number 1, right? Skyrim is number 1. Like,
okay. I mean, should I give my thoughts on Skyrim or should I wait?
Hold on. Let me go backwards first, and let me get all the way down there. Right. So number 10, we both love The Witcher. That's number 10.
Oh yeah. Was The Witcher? Are they saying number 10 is The Witcher or The Witcher 2?
The original Witcher.
That looks like The Witcher 2. Are they saying just the franchise there?
I think maybe they mean the franchise. So you can see it, right? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. That looks like The Witcher 2.
Yeah, it does look like The Witcher 2. It does, because the 1 did not look that good.
No.
And then we got Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Never played it.
Never played it.
Yeah, Final Fantasy. So you're a Final Fantasy guy. So I'm
a Final Fantasy guy. I mean, I would put Final Fantasy higher. I'm assuming they're saying this series. They must be talking the entire series.
Okay. I think so. Yeah, because see, they're mentioning 6, 7, 10, 9, 14, 13. See what I mean? So they're mentioning some different things there, right? Dark Souls. Number 7, Diablo 1 and 2 at 6, Fallout at number 5, World of Warcraft at 4, Baldur's Gate at 3, and Mass Effect at 2, right?
So they have a broad definition of an RPG.
Term. Yeah,
I mean, if they're throwing World of Warcraft on there, I mean,
technically it's an MMO.
I mean, yeah, technically it is, but that is broad. That is broad. They're letting in everybody. There's no
right. The gates just swinging wide open.
Right.
Now, what I'll say about the Shock series, right? So about System Shock 2, and what I was going to get to regarding Elbeal's comments on his recommendations is that he recommends like Bioshock as one of his top 3, Bioshock Infinite, and while you do have RPG elements, that's a shooter. Like the major way you interact with the world, you shoot.
Right.
So for me, that's the thing. I'm just like, but you know what? I'm glad he responded. So I'm like, you know what? A lot of people will classify it as that. And when Steam lets you build your own categories for game, he went and checked how Infinite was listed, and it's a 50-50 split on Steam where it's RPG and shooter. So so you got to go with that.
Yeah, the whole RPG thing and what's categorized as an RPG thing is a really, really tough question. And for me, I don't know, and I have a complete unscientific view of this, and it's just how I feel about the game. Like it's completely unscientific. You can't quantify it in any way for me personally. But like for when I look at Bioshock, I don't think RPG. I'm not thinking something along the lines of a Mass Effect or even a Skyrim or anything like that. I mean, technically people say, Borderlands is an RPG. I mean, that's how it was listed as like an action RPG.
Exactly.
I would have a hard time categorizing Borderlands as an RPG.
There are some leveling. You do play a role.
You do level, and that's why I don't think that there is a, this leveling and is Destiny an RPG? It's like there's leveling in it. Yeah, I mean, I just feel it's so hard to put the nail on what exactly is an RPG. So I think it's a tough question because RPGs have pretty much seeped into every form of gaming now. Everything has some form of leveling and character progression and that kind of stuff. So
Right. Now, let's give you thoughts on Skyrim, since a lot of people, and I'll go down through the whole list of responses that we have, but a lot of people recommended Skyrim. So, what is your take on Skyrim?
So, I think this applies for all my feelings about Bethesda games in general, like Fallout and that kind of stuff. So when I first started playing Skyrim, loved it, like synced probably like 80, 90 hours into it and was just playing the hell out of it and loved it. But then eventually I just lost interest, and it's not up there in terms of RPGs for me personally, because I didn't feel like the stories were that engaging. I just felt like I was doing things, but none of the things that I was doing were all that good. I didn't think the story was engaging. Combat isn't very good. And I know the draw to those games is the world and just experiencing that world. But I also, for me, and especially with RPGs, I have to have some interest in the story in some way to, keep me pushing through and that kind of stuff. And I know the draw is the world for a lot of folks, but for me, it's just not enough. So that's kind of my feeling on Skyrim, and kind of Fallout in the same way as well.
Okay. Hey, that's fair enough. Now, me personally, hate mail at Larry Asbury Jr. DopePerformRadio.com. I was not a fan of Skyrim.
At all?
The only thing I was a fan of, I guess I wasn't a fan of it because I felt like I was leveling up. I felt I was strong enough to take on the dragon, and then I got my hat handed to me like 30 times in a row. So that's probably just me and my inability to properly assess my level of preparedness.
Did you try sucking less? Because that helps.
I tried it, Robbiejo, and because I took a cue from you.
Right.
Yes, but I refused to drop it to easy, and but the thing that I absolutely fell in love with in Skyrim, outside of the world, because Bethesda has a way of creating a world that has gravity to it, right? So when you turn on and when you start playing Skyrim, when you hear the music, when you hear the voices, when you get into combat and it's chunky, as much as I hate the combat, as much as I hate how it's hard to focus on somebody, they need a lock-on mechanism. They need to do something with that camera that's so free-flowing and willy-nilly just looks around everywhere. As much as I hate it, I love the fact that however you play is how you level up. You get better at what you do, not what you pour points into. You get points, you get better just by doing it. And if that is not in every RPG moving forward, it's a problem. It's honestly a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think Skyrim does have some good things to it, like what you're saying in terms of the what you're doing is actually affecting how you're leveling up. And I acknowledge that Skyrim's a good game. I have no problem, people loving it or anything. I don't think they're crazy for that. I just think my background, I think this plays into it as well, is that we mentioned earlier, I'm a Final Fantasy guy. I grew up playing Final Fantasy. That was my introduction to RPGs, was the JRPG. So I think I tend to gravitate to those a little bit more, especially as I'm getting older. I'm finding that I tend to play hardcore JRPGs, old school JRPGs, and being like, oh, I love this. I was just playing Bravely Default, and that's an old school RPG. They call that a throwback to Final Fantasy, and I'm freaking loving it. And and that's a significant difference as opposed to something like Skyrim. So I think that's kind of, and when you talk about a JRPG, those tend to be very linear experiences, very character driven, a lot of grinding, that kind of stuff, which is very different from what Skyrim is. So I think for me personally, that's kind of my history in RPG, and I think that's why I tend not to gravitate to a Skyrim.
Okay, makes sense. Well, we'll get into mine because it's gonna color all of my top 3, right? So all right, so what I'm gonna do now, Robbie, I'm gonna jump into feedback. So I posed the question out on Twitter about top 3 RPGs of all time, and I got a ton of responses, man. So I don't know if you happen to have the show notes up. If you do, we could alternate. If you don't, I can just read them.
So I tend to walk around when I'm podcasting.
Okay, that's fine, man. Walk around, player. Don't.
Let me see if I can pull it up. I just don't think I have them. But
I shared it with you. In your Gmail.
Okay.
It's a Google Doc. But yeah. So let me just start. I'll start with Knox. He said he was gonna send me a video. Unfortunately, didn't. Ace sent me a video down in item J. Jimmy, aka the Ace Black, he sent me a video on his, and he'll explain his reason, and it's about 2.5 minutes, and we'll get to that here a little later. But Knox he didn't have any particular order. and a lot of people didn't give any particular order, but some did, and I'll identify them when they are. So when you hear them, they're in no particular order. They're just the top 3. Some have an honorable mention, some don't. All right, so Knox's were Lost Odyssey, Mass Effect 1, and Skyrim. His honorable mention was Dust Elysian Tale, which, hey, I got to co-sign that one because that Dust is good.
It is good. It is good. I didn't finish. I played a good amount of it, but I didn't finish it. But I definitely liked what I played.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really good, man. It's solid.
I got to pick some bones with Mass Effect 1. I got to.
You're gonna have bones to pick with me.
Oh, you're a Mass Effect 1 versus Mass Effect 2
I'm a Mass
guy,
Effect 1 dude. I'm a 1 guy. Yes, sir.
Wow.
I'm a 1 guy.
Wow. I'm not. Well, I used to, my podcasting buddy Forgetful, we used to have this argument all the time. Anytime Mass Effect came up, and I'd always be like, "No, Mass Effect 2 is terrible." And then I was like, "All right, let me go." I mean, not Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 1 is terrible.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. I was like,
but I went back and I played Mass Effect 1, and there's still a lot of problems. There's still the Mako, which I hate. That is not a enjoyable experience.
But it's coming back. That Mako is coming back now.
Yeah, it's coming back. I have no problem with them bringing it back, but especially considering all the complaints that people have had about it, they better fix it. If it comes back and it's still terrible, I'm gonna be upset.
Yeah, that's gonna be problematic for you and me both.
Yeah. So the Mako was terrible. The combat wasn't very good. But the things that it does have for going for it though is that when they first pitched Mass Effect, they were like, it's 24 in space. Commander Shepard's basically Jack Bauer in space, making cutthroat decisions.
Right.
And if you play the the evil Commander Shepard, that dude is a bit of an asshole. Like, he says stuff that it's like, that ain't cool, man. Mm-hmm. And that definitely was watered down in Mass Effect 2, because at Mass Effect 2 point, it was definitely like, yeah, well, the rogue Commander Shepard he wasn't an asshole. He might have been a little rude, but he wasn't a dick or anything. And that definitely got watered down. And I do agree Saren is a better villain, but to me, the things in Mass Effect 2 are just so much better. Like the end sequence, combat is significantly improved, the characters are improved, that kind of stuff.
I agree. The end sequence in the game was perhaps the best end sequence I've ever seen, where you actually accumulate your entire team and they split off into 3 teams.
Yeah.
And you go and you handle it. And when I did the Mass Effect prediction show, I was saying, look, 3 has to be like that on a galactic scale, right? So you got Kroger's protecting the planet, you have Turian's protecting another planet, you have Asari protecting another planet, and I didn't even know anything about the Yogs till I played the DLC in Shadow Broker 2, right? So it's just like, that would have been great. But they just, to me, that part missed the boat. So that's why 3 doesn't get it. 3 ain't even in the conversation, dog.
No, 3 has good moments, like epic moments.
Yes.
But it's shit the bed come the end. And by the end, it was not so hot. Not so hot.
Right, exactly. Now, and like I said, I'll debate 2. I'll remember your points for 2 when I get down to it, because dog. Hey, fighting the big Terminator at the end of 2, spoilers, that wasn't cutting it. Like, they were good up until that point.
That didn't bother me that much. But having said that, I would look at, to me, when I look at these things, I look at these as the series, and Mass Effect for me is not just my favorite RPG. It's like probably my favorite game. So I'm not. To me, it's really splitting hairs between 1 and 2. It's just arguments for just for discussion. But yeah.
Right. Now, Parris, he would probably agree with you, aka Vicious696 on Twitter. He would agree. Mm-hmm. He said the Skyrim, Mass Effect 2, and Fallout 3 are his top 3. He does not have any particular order to those, but he's all about that too, man. And I understand. 2 is strong and it's all right. It really is. Now, Deshane, or formerly known as Deshane, Eddie, aka elbeal on Twitter, his top 3: Deus Ex Human Revolution, Bioshock Infinite, and Diablo 3. I've heard people say Diablo.
No, it's Diablo.
No, it's Spanish, dog. The I sounds like an E.
Yeah, no. Okay. Diablo. No. This is America.
It's America.
America.
And now, Mr. Smith, Uridium242 on Twitter says Fallout 3, Xenoblade Chronicles, a Wii game made it on here, and Muramasa. And I tried to clarify with them. I remember Muramasa, the Demon Blade that was on PS2, but I didn't know if there was a Muramasa on the prior generation. And the generation I'm referring to specifically, last gen, is 360, PS3, Wii, and PC that came out everything between.
I think there was Muramasa. Oh, it came out. I think it came out at the tail end of the PlayStation 2, right?
It did. So, I mean, that's all it gave me, so we're going to throw it out there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I played a good amount of Xenoblade, and I really liked it. I thought it was really good. I was loving it. Mm-hmm. It was very deep, tons and tons of side quests, almost too much. And I'm not a graphics whore, but for what that game was doing, I really felt that it was limited by the hardware. Like, it's still a great game, but, in that type of vast open world, I kept thinking to myself the entire time, this would be a better experience on like a 360 or a PS3. Just because what it was trying to do, the hardware was limiting just how that game looked. Like, just what it was trying to do was really limiting. I never finished. It was a really long game, but I did like it. The story was really good, and I could easily see how someone, if they didn't have the hang-ups I was with the graphics, where I kept thinking like this would be better on another system, I can easily see how that could be someone's favorite RPGs.
Right. Now, Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii looks fantastic. I've been looking at a lot of Treehouse stuff on that. That looks great, man. So I think they got over that limitation, and it looks really, really good for it. So now Kevin, aka CoolKev, we all know CoolKev. CoolKev has Mass Effect, Skyrim, and Diablo 3, and his honorable mention is Dragon Age Origins. He likes those, and you'll notice a common theme in here. TinPanAlley has Skyrim, Dragon Age Origins, and Kingdoms of Amalur, which was also a good game. But I'm surprised because Tinpan is one of the biggest Mass Effect fans I know, and it ain't even in his top 3.
Yeah, well,
maybe I'll assign it as an honorable mention for him. How about that?
Honorable mention.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're not bringing Mass Effect to the conversation at all, then you don't even deserve to be in the conversation. No.
Hey, say it how it is, player. Say it like it is.
That is how it is, but I gotta be politically correct.
Right. Now, Eric, aka AZRockslide on Twitter from the Everyday Gamers podcast. Number 1. Actually, we'll start with number 3. The World Ends With You. And you saw this tweet. Number 2 was Fable 2. And number 1 was Mass Effect Trilogy. So it included the entire series.
Yeah, so, I freaking love The World Ends With You. I mean, that's a throwback. That's one of those JRPGs that I actually, rarely enough, did not play it on the DS, but played it on the iPad and loved it. And I thought it was fantastic. I think at the time I did a show, it was like $20, and people were bitching up a storm. Like, they refused to pay $20 for a game on the iPad, and I was like, it's so worth it. I love that game. That game was fantastic. Like, the music and the story, it was great. And the combat, especially considering what it is for the iPad, it was really, because it was very different, and it was a lot of fun. It was a great game.
Right. I've heard nothing but good things about it. Unfortunately, I don't own any Nintendo console at the current time, so anything on Nintendo I've missed. So I probably am not qualified to hold this entire conversation right now. But his honorable mention is Borderlands 2, though. He's put in hours and hours and hours in Borderlands 2. And I know you, Robbiejo, you are a Borderlands guy. So,
hardcore. I mean, I've put in probably 200 plus on the 360. And probably at least 100 on PC. I put in a lot of Borderlands time. Yeah, I love Borderlands. I think Borderlands is fantastic. Not looking forward to the pre-sequel though. That's coming out at a bad time. I think it's October. Destiny is about to happen. I just don't see myself. I see myself playing the pre-sequel when there's like a Steam sale next year sometime. Right.
That's the only time I see it. Right now, I have Borderlands 2, and the only reason I picked it up because I got it during a Steam sale. And it's the Game of the Year edition, so I have everything, and I'm just waiting on people to play with. So
hey, well, I'm always playing. Just let me know. Hit me up, and
I will hit you up. I will find you on Steam.
Yeah.
So let's see now. Eric, aka Glovebox, over the 40cast. His top 3 were Skyrim, Ni no Kuni, And Matt, he only gave me 2, and I was like, "What about Mass Effect?" He was like, "Yeah, you can throw that in there." So you throw that in there. So yeah, those are his top 3, man. And yeah, I have Ni no Kuni, but I have not finished it. And I know you played and finished it, and weren't you a pretty big fan of it?
I played it, but I didn't finish it because it was just so long. Like, some of these, especially these JRPGs, I do like them, but like, when they're asking you to play like 100 hours. It's just so many games I can make that commitment to. So I played it. I did just recently buy it for the PS3. I don't know why, because my PS3 is basically thrown away at this point.
Yeah.
But I did recently buy it when it was on sale for like $5. So I don't see myself going back to play. But if something came up, and I have the option.
Yeah. Right. Now I want to apologize to Keith, aka Rogue Spirit. I was on the 40cast last night, and I asked him, and I think he responded, but I couldn't recall him. So I hit him on Twitter today to ask him what his top 3 were, and he hadn't hit me back yet. So therefore, Keith, I'm sorry I couldn't put it in there, but I know he's a huge Mass Effect fan, so I know that for sure. And he likes Dragon Age. I think he's looking forward to getting that as well on his PS4. So I guess I'll just throw Dragon Age in there for him. But I don't want to speak for him. But I know for sure he likes those.
Right.
And go ahead.
Now I just want to talk a little bit about Dragon Age. That was another one that I played. The first Dragon Age, loved it. Thought it was fantastic. That was kind of an old school, kind of a throwback to PC games and a very strict way to play. Loved how like the narrative was set up, like kind of classic computer RPG. You would go to a town and each town had like an individual story that tied into a larger story. Really great stuff. Combat was good. Really loved the first Dragon Age. Dragon Age 2, not so much.
So much, bro.
Yeah, which that game had a good story to it, but the problem with it for me was that it just felt like a cash-in. Just like, in this day and age, even like the 360, when that game came out, they kept, reusing the same dungeon over and over and over again.
Man, that was tough. Yeah. That was tough, dog.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff it was to me inexcusable and just screamed of just a cash-in. And, to me at that point, that was EA's fingerprints all over BioWare at that point.
Right, and not even just that. I mean, the fact that the game looked like the fidelity of the game looked really high, but maybe it's because they were only working in 3 colors. Because all these gray and brown, there wasn't no green, wasn't no and red, gray, brown, and red for the blood. That was it, dog. Like, I was so.
It was a cash grab. It was a crash. They made that game in a year. I don't know. It's virtually impossible to make a BioWare game in a year like that.
It takes you a year alone to write out the entire script. You know what I mean?
Yeah, AAA game cannot be made within a year. Like, it just can't, unless you're planning to just reuse a bunch of assets, which they did. So
yeah, that was so disappointing. But this game is great because just one area of the game, they have several of these moderate-sized areas. Just one of these areas is bigger than both Dragon Age 1 and 2 combined, and they have many of these areas. So that alone.
You're talking about Inquisition?
Yeah, Inquisition. Yeah. Yes, sir. I am. Robbie, that's probably number 1 that I'm waiting on this year. I already have that and Mordor pre-ordered and paid off. And
you're not a Destiny guy?
No. Don't you remember me back in 2009 talking about shooter fatigue?
Yeah, but I have shooter fatigue as well, but I still play the ones that are good, right? Like, I play Halo and Destiny. I mean, I'm not picking up I can't think of a shooter. I really don't play shooters. I feel like maybe
you're not picking up a Brink, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I only play the ones that I'm interested in, right? So I can't remember the last time I played a Call of Duty, so.
Right now we got a couple more folks. We have Matt, aka DeviousMrMatt from the 40cast. Now he has Skyrim, Mass Effect, and Fable. And so I'm assuming the last 2 are about the series. He didn't really specify, but I'll just go ahead and say it's about the series. And so and then we also have a video here from Jimmy, aka xxAceblackxx, that I want to show you. So Robbie, if you want to talk, you can talk through here. You just let me know, and I can respond to you over the video. But
well, we can just let it play and we can talk about it afterwards. How about that?
Yeah, it's 2 minutes 52 seconds. So I let it go. And this is Jimmy, aka xxAceblackxx, co-host of Prove Your Point. Here we go.
Hey, what's going on with you? This is your boy xxAceblackxx, co-host of your show Prove Your Point, PYP. Just want to give a big shout out to all my partners out there joining the game nights. Just want to throw out there my 3 top RPGs of last generation. First one I would have to say is definitely Oblivion. The reason why I say Oblivion is because I like the King Arthur feel. It's probably one of the only RPGs I put the most time in as far as medieval-wise. That game, to me, was one of my top ones because, one, it really got me into that realm. I would push it to Skyrim, but I don't know, Oblivion to me was a lot better. It was more colorful. It didn't have that Conan feel like Skyrim did. It had that King Arthur feel. I love the story of it, and I love the lore, and I love the actual interaction of it. My next one, of course, is going to be Mass Effect 2. Well, the Mass Effect series, of course. But I have to say that's definitely the genre that, as far as RPGs of last gen, that I love the most because you took your character and moved it through all 3 games. You can't beat that. Now, that's what I'm talking about. You cannot beat a game like that where you can have one character and push them along all 3 games. And no matter what, I've always went back and played certain portions of the game just so I can save a specific character. Now, I loved every minute of that. I mean, at some point, I was like, oh man, I don't want to lose Garrus. I want to go back. At one point, Garrus died. I went back and played it so I can actually make sure I didn't lose Garrus. I did all the loyalty missions, everything of that nature. So that will be definitely number 2. Number 3 for me, and this actually might come as I would have to say quite a surprise actually. But I have to throw in Fallout, and I'm gonna say Fallout 3, which was the first one. The reason being because I put a lot of time into that game too, lots of hours. Fallout was actually pretty good. I mean, I liked the fact when I went out and the world itself was pretty cool, but it wasn't just the world, it was the things that, like I said, it had that Oblivion feel, but I liked the post-apocalyptic portion of it. And then when it actually gave you DLC, the DLC put you in completely different portions of the world. And it even affected what you did from the past world into the new world. So I would have to say those are my 3 top RPGs of last gen. I mean, you could throw in Lost Odyssey too, but those 3 I would have to say I put the most time in and I had the most fun with. And I mean, I know we're going to probably talk about shooters soon, but kind of want to throw in Borderlands. I know that was more like an RPG as well, but those would have to be my top 3. This is your boy DeviousMrMatt. I just want to say peace.
But Robbie, all right, man, we've done enough. We've done enough dancing around. Why don't you tell me your top 3 RPGs of last generation, dog? Let's hear it.
So I'm gonna go franchises because I don't want to quibble about 1 or 2 of Mass Effect X. Number 1, I'm gonna start off right from the jump. Mass Effect. That's not really a surprise. Anybody who knows me, I'm all about some Mass Effect. So right. Number 1 would be Mass Effect. Number 2, The Witcher. I freaking love The Witcher. The Witcher 2 to me is, all the things that BioWare talks about, oh, your choices matter, but when you really look at it, it doesn't really matter that much. Mm-hmm. Witcher 2 is for real. Your choices do legitimately matter. I mean, just in the fact that the whole second chapter is completely different. And we're talking 15 hours of content that you will not see based on one choice. And then when you go back and play the opposite choice and see the repercussions of the things that happens and how it ties into the story, it's like something happened that I had no idea. Like a year later, I was like, holy crap. That's what that is? Blew my mind. So good. Mm-hmm. And then number 3, what's surprising for me, I just made this on the fly just because how many hours I put into it. But Diablo 3. Or Diablo in general. Because I've played a ton of Diablo 2, but Diablo 3, love that game. I've sunk so many hours into that game. That game is the definition of a time suck because I will sit down and play some Diablo. Like, oh, I'll play like 20 minutes and then 5 hours later be like, how the hell did this happen?
That's all right.
Yeah. So yeah, those are my 3. Those are my 3. And then I'll give some shout outs. This one I played on the Vita, Persona 4 Golden, talking about JRPGs. That is the most JRPG of JRPGs, but I freaking love that game. 80 hours in, one of the best stories for a JRPG. Combat is straight, standard, turn-based combat, but I've sunk so many hours into that game. Freaking love that game. The characters, I can't wait for Persona 5 and then the one that's coming on the 3DS. I can't wait for. So yeah, Persona definitely get a honorable mention for me though. So those are mine.
Okay, for sure. Well, mine are this way, and they go in reverse order from 3 to 1. Number 1, actually, honorable mention. Up first, Tales of Vesperia.
Yep, you turned me on to that.
I did, and I know you're glad I did because that game was great.
Yep, it was very good. I love that game.
The Tales series has some of the best combat systems. Period. Like for Japanese RPGs, as far as the combat system is concerned, they are phenomenal. They are great. They're fun. You can play with anyone in your party. It's a real time. It's called the limb system, and it's a real time. And you can chain in arts, which is like adding different combos that are stronger moves, and they're timing based, and it is great. And Vesperia in particular is great because it is full on hand. It's like full on animated everywhere. No like Tales of Xillia, they have kind of like the static looking graphical presentation, right? So this art style that is more reminiscent of like, I can't even describe it. It's just, they just look blocky and stale, right? But this kind of like Eternal Sonata is like all hand drawn anime. It's all great. It is bright. It's vibrant. It's not, and it came out at a time that was kind of antithetical to the Fallouts, the really beaten down, full-on post-apocalyptic worlds. This was bright. Something was happening in the world. It was bubbly. Loved it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a beautiful game. And then the combat is it's like a beat 'em up. Like the combat is like you're putting in like moves and that kind of stuff. Very fast and very fluid. And like I had not experienced that type of game. But prior to that, and Tales is a long-running series in Japan, and that definitely turned me on to the Tales. It was great. It was a really good game. I was definitely very appreciative of you turning me on to that one.
For sure, man. Now, another game that's right up my alley, that was right up here, I think, is Lost Odyssey. Lost Odyssey has to be, that's my number 3 game. Lost Odyssey for me was the game that got me really looking at JRPGs in particular, and Sakaguchi-san and Miss Walker, they worked that game. That game was 4 discs long. It was it took me 125 hours to finish the game. But the combat in it was turn-based, but the difference was that you had this little ring that you had to use a timer. So as you were fighting, if you had like a bonus, the ring would close, and if you hit it right when the ring connected, or like right around your button, and you tapped it, then you would an effect would take place. Whether you had that on your sword or on your I guess on something else, some other piece of armor that you were wearing, that effect would happen. So if you would poison somebody, you would light them on fire. But just the writing in the game, because they had all the short stories that were in there, man. So many people and reviewers at the time said that they cried playing the game. I did not, because my man card always remains intact.
I'm a grown-ass man.
Exactly. But that being said, the game was just really well put together. The story really took you for a surprise there at the end about how it all worked out, and just the interplay of how you learned skills. You would link skills. You played as an immortal, and you had immortals on your team, but you also had mortals on your team. And the way that the mortals learned skills, they would link with the mortals for a while, and once you acquired enough experience linked with them, you would gain a skill that you were trying to study. And then once you gained it, then you could equip it if you had enough slots to equip the skill. It was really, really great, and that hasn't really been done much. I think I've only seen it in one other similar game, but it was on weapons. It was with weapons, where you could acquire the skills from weapons. The Tales games, remember, you can acquire skills from the weapons and then reset your skill slots. That's the only other place that I've seen it, and it's really fantastic. I highly recommend. Even now, it's 360. Came out like 2006 or 2007 in Japan, and like go get it, go play it. It is fantastic. Number 2 for me, Robbiejo. Hey, The Witcher 2. Like, you ain't calling numbers, I'm calling numbers, dog. Like, it is. The Witcher 2, I am with you, man. The Witcher 2 is a great game, and it's because of the consequence, but it's also because of the way that they. Now, I originally played it on the 360.
Those sex scenes. I know how you get that.
Me and Trish got down. We got down.
Hey, I'll just say this. I know we're in a politically correct age, but I'll just say this. The Witcher 2 has the best sex scenes in any video game ever. That's all I'm just going to say. I'm going to throw that out there.
Yep. But the combat was great. It was true, honest to goodness swordplay. You had riposte, and you had parries, and you had counters. You had everything, and you actually had to time your attacks to meet a particular flow of the blade, so you would be able to chain your combos together, and you got better over time as you unlocked your skills and things like that. The alchemy in there, where you were creating your potions and using them when you needed them, just the creation where you had people crafting things for you, different armors and of the like. It was so great, and there's so much choice in that game that really makes a difference. It's really, CD Projekt is one of the best developers out there, and it's a shame many people don't know that. But I guarantee you, after The Witcher 3, the whole world will know it. It's going to be something serious.
Yeah, I think there's just a lack of quality content on these the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, and I think that's definitely going to help in the fact, because I think when The Witcher 2 came out on consoles, I mean, it came out kind of near the end. There's a lot of stuff going on, and people just didn't know it. And it was also a watered down version of the PC game. So I think I don't expect that to be as much of a case with the Witcher 3, and I think people are really going to suddenly discover how great CD Projekt Red is, and then the other things that they're working on Cyberpunk and that kind of stuff is going to really
wait for that.
But that's probably going to be like 2017, 2018.
That's gonna be tough, man. They're gonna ride the Witcher 3 wave for a while though, because they invested a lot. I mean, they're really like one of the first few games that really look next gen. I mean, Dragon Age for sure looks next gen. Destiny looks really good, but I think it's kind of been compromised a little bit just because.
Yeah, Destiny looks okay. I wouldn't consider it like Dragon Age does look good. Destiny looks okay. Like Destiny is not, not crazy good, but yeah.
Right. And finally, my number one is, of course, we talked about it, Mass Effect 1, dog. Mass Effect 1 has to be this game. I didn't play RPGs before I played Mass Effect. Well, I take that back. The only one I had played before then, Western RPGs. I hadn't played any Western RPGs before that. I played Lost Odyssey. I loved it so much. I played Blue Dragon, and I finished both of those. And then I was like, okay, let's go. And I jumped into Mass Effect, and I was like, okay, this is the best game I've ever played, period. Just the writing, the choice, it still looks good today, dog. Like the art style that they chose, the engine, which was Aurora engine, which is actually the same engine that they use for The Witcher, it's just modified. It still looks great. But not only that, man, it's the fact that you felt like you were making a difference, right? You felt like your decisions were very important, and its reactions, and I played it through again, and the multiple classes, right? Going through playing as the multiple classes that fit your play style. That was really, really unique to me. The reason, and that's probably one of the reasons I liked it, but Mass Effect 1 to me over Mass Effect 2 introduced this entire universe. And to me, that's where the canon and everything they had was right. You didn't have to reload, you had to wait on your weapons to cool down. You know what I mean? Like you didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. But
for me though, the difference that I feel between Mass Effect 1 and 2 was, for me, for Mass Effect 1, I was overcoming the gameplay because of the story, and in Mass Effect 2, I think both of those came together. Like I feel like the story and the gameplay did not feel like a chore, as I felt like it felt like a chore in Mass Effect 2. And I would say even Mass Effect 3, the gameplay, like that's when they perfected it, and they came out with the multiplayer that everybody was hating on, which turned out to be amazing.
I love that multiplayer. I love it to this day.
Yeah, it is fantastic. I haven't played, well, maybe Gears. I play a lot of Gears, but I mean, it's essentially the same thing. But it's much. I feel like this has a lot more components to it. But I mean, the gameplay and the story that came together in Mass Effect 2 to me is like when they refined that stuff. I do see the advantages of a Mass Effect 1, but I one of the things I always say is that games are some of their parts. So it's the music, the gameplay, the story, the graphics, and all those things have to come together. And one can carry the other, but to me, that's Mass Effect 2 is when it all came together. But
right,
personal preference.
Yeah. I mean, to each his or her own. I'm not salting your player at all. I'll just say, like, for me, Mass Effect 1 was where you could go and explore a planet and not just worry about some stinking probes. You can actually go and sit down on many of those planets that they had populated the universe with, and you can just find stuff. You could just explore. You could just discover. And that sense of discovery was lost in 2 and 3. And to me, that's what makes 1 better, because you had that. And then you also had a deeper ability to customize in 1, where it came down to your upgrades on your weapons. Even though a lot of people hated the inventory management system and they hated the upgrades, I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, there was a thing but the thing with those things is, like, all those things are good idea in theory, but the execution was not pulled off well, in my opinion. Like, you're talking about the discovery, but what discovery was, it was, hey, go to this point on the map and go there, like use the Mako, which was a pain in the ass to get there, and just go there and hit A. Like you weren't truly discovering anything. Now all the things, to me, what you're describing sounds good. Like yeah, that those things sound good. And I think that's why they're bringing them back in the next iteration of it on these newer consoles, and hopefully they'll be implemented better. But they just weren't executable. Like you talked about the inventory management, and that's where I get into where I just don't think like the execution of those things in the gameplay was pulled off correctly. But having said that, Mass Effect was to me like, I think one of the problems that we're having this generation is nothing feels new. And Mass Effect 1 at that time, I was like, holy crap, I've never experienced anything like this prior to this, like exploring these worlds. I mean, there was Knights of the Old Republic, but that also was held back by, the hardware where, you'd have back in the days where you just had all the NPCs had the same faces and that kind of stuff. And, not all the characters were speaking and that kind of stuff. And, technology got better and we got Mass Effect. So Mass Effect 1 was like, it just felt new and like, wow, this is next gen. I think, which is a bit lacking this console generation. Nothing feels new. So.
Right. I'll tell you what else needs to be going in this generation. Since we have more capable consoles and we have stronger PCs, right? If I gotta see one more elevator loading screen, man, we're gonna have some problems in the Citadel because it'll start jumping off, dog, for real. Like I bet.
There's been a lot of loading. Even in Mass Effect 3, it was a good amount of loading. It was better, but it was a lot.
I don't want to see a loading screen of me jumping through a mass relay. I don't want to see any of that. I want to see nothing. I just want it to be seamless. I want it to be seamless. And if we can get it there, then that's fine. If you got to use some tricks to zoom in on one object and then zoom out when everything else populates behind it, that's fine. Do what you got to do. But if you're not putting me in a loading screen, we're going to have problems.
Yeah. So. I mean, being a PC gamer, I've been a pretty much hardcore PC gamer last like 3 or 4 years now. Load screens, they still exist, but it's like loading and then it's gone. It's not. Right. It's gone pretty quickly. So hopefully that will get changed in this console generation.
Right. Now, what consoles do you own? Because I haven't talked to you since this generation started. So.
I got them all. Got to catch them all.
There you go, Pokemon.
I got. Hey, I can go in handheld. I got the Xbox One. I got PlayStation 4. I got the Vita. I got the 3DS. What else did I got? I think that's what I got. That's what I have.
Man, dog, must be nice. I
should have waited. I jumped on the Xbox One bandwagon early, not opening. I was the guy being like, I ain't buying crap. I'm gonna wait. And then like a couple months later,
that's I remember hearing you say, be like, I'm waiting, dog. I'm waiting. And now I look up and you got them all.
I got them all. And I mean, if somebody's asking, hey, what should I buy one? I would tell them to wait. I just am a super hardcore gamer, and I was like, I'm buying them. I have no self-control. I'm buying them, but it makes sense to wait until there's a game that you really want. For some folks, that's going to be Destiny. Right. I mean, Microsoft has.
What console you playing that on?
PlayStation 4. I made the change.
So how is it? Is I've heard bad things about the voice quality. I'm asking you since you play it, and do you use the voice chat on there cross game? Yeah. So I also have a really good pair of headphones. So I've never used the crappy headphones that you just plug into the control. Yeah. So I don't have that problem. So my setup is pretty good. I mean, I'm rocking some Astro 850, so it sounds good. I have I just have the USB for voice, and then I have the optical cable for the rest of the audio. And so I don't hook it up to the actual controller, but to me it sounds good. But I think if somebody's using the headset that comes with the PlayStation 4 and they're just plugging that one headphone in there, that it's gonna suck. Right. I gotta imagine that's gotta suck. But I mean, overall, if I'm just giving like a quick review of the PlayStation 4, I think it's good. It's very you can definitely see a difference in what they were going for. They were just going for a bare bones console that does plays games. That's what it's doing, and then it has Netflix and that kind of stuff. And from that level, it's great. I'm not. The problem with the PS3 era was the PlayStation Network was not good, and this with the PlayStation 4, that's no longer a problem. So Right. Okay. Well, Robbie, man, you got anything else you want to discuss? Anything else you want to bring up? Now's the time, player.
Well, no, I mean, I know Eddie threw out Deus Ex Human Revolution, and that is one of my favorite games. I freaking love that game. That game is awesome. So I just want to throw that out there.
Now I liked it, but I thought that on the execution side it fell kind of slow. Oh, and I wanted to, while I'm thinking about it, Parris also threw it out for his honorable mention, and I failed to mention it. Alpha Protocol. He threw out Alpha Protocol as one of his honorable mentions. Yes, he did.
I'm gonna have to talk to him about that.
he did. I forgot to write it down, but when you brought that up, I was thinking about execution, and I remember responding to him about Alpha Protocol's execution. I enjoyed Alpha Protocol quite a bit. Now, if you ask my boy Mike, aka Scarfinger, about Alpha Protocol, he calls it trash. Yeah, because he's.
Well, I didn't think of Alpha Protocol. I was like, when I first saw that, I was like, Mass Effect with spies, I am in. But
That's the same thing I thought.
Yeah, but I think there's an execution problem there, right? Like I feel like that game's broken.
But it was for the stealth. I went through on stealth with martial arts. I should have just went through martial arts and all out, because I ended up having to go all out every time. I think the stealth element ended up getting broken a lot easier than everything else. The shooting was actually numbers based, and a lot of people didn't like that. So you had people with inner reticle in your sights, and you can shoot them and miss them.
Right.
Your whole head. But if you didn't have your accuracy all the way up, then you would miss. So.
I think that's Obsidian made that game, and I think up until recent history, I think pretty much up until Fallout New Vegas, which started off broken. I got probably close to the end, and then I couldn't proceed, and because the game was broken. Like that never happens in modern games. But I did go back and finished it, and that game is pretty good. And once they fixed it, and they all that stuff, up until then, Obsidian had a real problem making quality games. Like their games always were kind of broken. But with some of their most recent releases, like the South Park game, which is an RPG, which is a pretty good one as well, that game worked fine. So, that was a problem for probably old Obsidian. I'm willing to give them a benefit of the doubt, because I used to hate on Obsidian for that reason, because they make broken games. But they have gotten better. They've gotten better.
All right. Now, we've almost been at it an hour, but I'm asking you a surprise question. Top 3 RPG games you're looking forward to this generation. Top 3.
Well, obviously Mass Effect.
Right.
Whatever that turns out to be. Witcher 3, because it's The Witcher.
Right.
And, I don't know. I want the next new thing. Whatever the next hotness is, that's what I want. Because look at the games I just talked about, and this is what I think is the problem for this generation as well, is that we're still getting the games that we were playing last generation. We're playing The Witcher 3, Mass Effect. I mean, I'm ready for the new hotness. I'm ready for that new thing that makes me feel like when I played Mass Effect 1, I was like, holy crap, I haven't played this before. So when that game comes out, that's what I'm looking forward to.
All right.
What about you? What are your top 3?
Oh man, I guess for me, I'm just gonna say them real quick. Mass Effect, Witcher, of course, and Cyberpunk 2077. Man, I'm looking forward to that. Because that's a new IP, and that's a project working on straight up current gen stuff. Yeah, let's go. That one's definitely on the list for sure. So yeah, man. But Robbiejo, man, again, man. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. Again, tell the folks where they can find you, and maybe where they can listen to you each week.
Yep, the best way to find me, if you want to listen to hear more of me talk about video games and stuff, you can find me at the easiest way is probably on Twitter at LZ Podcast. It's just me and a couple of other guys. We just talk video games, and that's all we do, strictly talk video games. We haven't been regular as of recently, just because life, but hopefully we'll get back closer to it, because there's a bunch of games coming out at the end of the year, so we'll have a lot to talk about. So and then if I'm always up for conversation or arguments or whatever it is, and you can hit me up on Twitter at Robbiejo.
And disclaimer, if you converse with Robbie, it will be an argument. Just letting everybody know.
Hey, I've been trying not to argue. I have been trying. I mean, I see some people say some stupid shit on Twitter. I'm like, I'm pulling back. I ain't saying nothing. Just sit back and watch. I ain't arguing. I'm staying out of this.
Hey, all I'm saying is, Robbie, don't deny who you are. That's all I'm saying.
I try. Sometimes I jump back in, but sometimes I can't deal with all the arguments on Twitter. So I gotta pull back.
Right. No worries, man. No worries. I understand. But yeah, man. So y'all check out Robbie. As I said, check him out. You guys know where to find me. This is Prove Your Point. You can find me over at Open Forum Radio. You can find me pretty much on anywhere you listen to podcasts by searching Prove Your Point or PYP, the letters PYP. And I'm out there. If you want to call and leave a voicemail and leave us your top 3 RPGs of last generation and the top 3 you're looking forward to this generation, you do that. Area code 405-283-6376. Area code 405-283-OFRN. That is a long distance number. It's a Google Voice number, so all standard long distance pleas will apply. You can email me at LarryAsburyJr@OpenForumRadio.com. You can find me on Twitter at Prove Your Point. And that's really about it. I don't have any. I had some new followers, but I didn't get a chance to write them down, so I may just go ahead and just tag everybody here in the comments. But Robbie, man, thanks for coming on. I truly appreciate it, man. Thanks for sacrificing your day off with me to have a good time. We'll have this out, man. I'll get you tagged up on it. Thanks for live streaming. And, man, hey, maybe next time you could drop in one of the game nights, man, with us. And
yeah, for sure. Hey, thank you for having me on. It's been a while. We should definitely do this more often. We'll definitely get you on the LZ podcast, Level Zero podcast. Just
sure.
argue over there.
Yeah.
So,
we just like arguing. That's just how we roll.
That's just how we roll.
See, and that's the first time Robbiejo and I have ever agreed. So. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening / watching Prove Your Point, episode 54. It has been a great time. On behalf of Robbiejo, I'm Larry, a.k.a. Blue Man Rule. Y'all stay open. Deuces.
Cool.